there. Today we'll be looking at a very short poem titled Yaman by R Cheran. Yaman was included in Cheran's collection of poems titled Yaman, which was published in 1984. And the translation was first published in 2001. R Cheran is a well noted Tamil Sri Lankan poet in exile currently, and his collections have always been, read as a chronicle of the Sri Lankan Civil War stories, which Cheran painfully portrays in his poems. And Yemen, as the very title indicates, is all about how the poor innocent people confronts death at night without knowing why, what, etc. And Cheran has always said that poetry, even if it does not bring in sudden revolutions, it has got power enough to touch the finer attitudes, finer sentiments in you, and that can easily, bring about changes over a period of time. So that is why many of his poems are basically those which delve on themes of social injustice and poems which again speak about liberation and freedom. So Yemen is again no different from any of these. Though the poem speaks about the gory details of death, it ends with a note of hope. So to the poem Yemen. The wind falters as fear fills the night. I gasp at the stillness between the stars. Whose shadow lurks by the door? I wouldn't know, nor would they. It happens swiftly. Death. No reason, no justice. Values and virtues freeze where they stand in the oppressive silence. In the dark, lost in flight, pigeons pound and pound again against the door. My resolve to endure slips. Do the butterflies, disdaining life, shed their colors in the prime of youth? As sunflowers, their golden petals, untouched by dust, lotus flowers that bloom at the touch of water, as stars, they will be born again. Until then, at the edge of the lake, stare at the waves. The wind falters as fear fills the night. I gasp at the stillness between the stars. So the poem starts evoking the universal elements, and again it ends evoking all that is natural. So he kind of talks about the wind and how fear and how even the wind itself falters because the night is a fearful night, and it is fear which fills the entire setting. And he says that as a poet, he gasps at the stillness between the stars. So maybe he talks about how still dreams have turned out to be. When he says there is a stillness between the stars, or maybe he talks about how still the night is, which again is a kind of stillness which will gradually lead to the death cries which would follow very soon. Now, there is a shadow which is lurking by the door, the eternal shadow image which is often associated with death. But you wouldn't even know that there is a shadow by the door, because even before you realize it, even before anybody realizes it, the poet says it happens swiftly, what we call death. And there is no reason at all, there is no rationality if you ask why. There is no justice, there are no values and virtues when you are oppressed or when you stand in oppressive silence, when there is nothing but just, mute, a kind of a mute feeling when you face oppression, when you face violence. In the dark, lost in flight, pigeons pound and pound again against the door. So he brings in the image of the pigeon. He again brings in the image of butterflies to show the lives of ordinary people, lives of victims of many gory battlefields. And gradually the person assess my resolve to endure slips. So as I watch the doves, the pigeons lose themselves in flight, as I watch the butterflies shed their colors even before their prime time, I also kind of feel less resolved to endure what I'm seeing around me. But even though he says that in the final stanza, he says, I'll be waiting, or we'll all have to stare at the waves. We'll all have to stand at the edge of the lake and simply stare at the waves, simply count the waves, simply while away our time when life passes around us or beyond us sometimes, hoping all the time that, like sunflowers, which are untouched by dust, which are untouched by the mundane, ordinary, dusty activities, or like the lotus flowers which bloom at the touch of waters. Just like lotus flowers are regenerated by the touch of the ever flowing waters, and just like stars, these lives which have been spoiled today, which have all been shed today, will be reborn. And that is the day that we are all hoping for. That is the day that we are all waiting for. So the poem ends with a positive note in such a manner that the poet also leaves behind a certain hope for the future. That in spite of what is happening around you, in spite of the burning down, in spite of the fire, in spite of bloodshed, in spite of violence, one day things will come back to normal, and there will definitely be a rebirth, a reawakening for the ones who have shed their colors before time.